Hi, and welcome to another Tide Guy video. Today we're going to talk about college expansion a little more. I keep getting questions in other chats and this and that about who will go to the SEC, who they think will go to the Big Ten. The way I look at it is a lot of people are saying that Georgia Tech would be a great fit in the SEC. The problem is this is coming from younger generations that don't understand that Georgia Tech had already been in the SEC. They bailed on us back in the 60s, and when they left, they kind of made Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi State kind of upset the way they exited, the way they talked to those teams about how much better they are. So I really don't see Georgia Tech ever being invited back in the SEC. I think you're going to see the Big Ten, first of all, more than likely will end up taking Oregon and Washington. They do want Notre Dame, so if Notre Dame ever does say yes to them, they'll take them in a heartbeat. Now, if Notre Dame does not take them and want to go to the Big Ten, then I think the Big Ten would take Stanford and possibly California. Now, if we go to 24 teams, then the Big Ten is going to need to get some teams out of the ACC. The first team I think they should get out of the ACC would be Miami. And the reason for Miami is, one, it's a huge market. And let's be honest, the Big Ten cares about big markets. Plus, they do not have a team in Florida right now. And Florida is usually either the second or third, sometimes, best recruiting in the country. Texas is always number one, and then it's usually Florida and then California. So if the Big Ten could get a team like Miami, who has great tradition, they just have announced that they're going to be building a new stadium. So they'll finally get a stadium. They won't be playing in the pro stadium anymore. So that'll be a big push for them. And plus, academically, they are on the verge of becoming AAU, which is a big selling point for the Big Ten. So I do see Miami getting an invite. Now, I think there will be a little bit of a fight between North Carolina. What does North Carolina do? Do they go to the Big Ten, which is a more prestigious academically? Or, like I've been hearing, that North Carolina does kind of want to stay in the South. So do they stay in the SEC for the football prestige? That'll be a good question. I personally think they're going to stay in the SEC. So I think that the Big Ten will say, fine, we still need a North Carolina team. Obviously, Duke is not a power in football. They are a great basketball team. I think they will get some views in football. So I think the Big Ten would take Duke. So if they take the 4 California teams and the 2 ACC teams, that's 22. So we're going to need to get them 2 more teams. And if Notre Dame, at this point, if the ACC breaks up, I think Notre Dame will go. So I would put Notre Dame into the Big Ten. So that leaves one more team, and I think the battle will probably be between Virginia Tech, and possibly Georgia Tech. Because I could see them wanting into Georgia, because Georgia has been really big in high school recruiting. Now, the SEC for sure wants Clemson. That's going to be a no-brainer. They will take Clemson. They will take Florida State, even though Florida State turned us down back in 92, and I know there's a few hard feelings about that, but we're going to take Florida State. So that would get us 18. I do believe that we would take North Carolina and Virginia. So that would get us to 20. Now we need 4 more teams. My bet is we go to the Big 12. I think we go ahead and pull Oklahoma State over. I think we grab West Virginia. And then we go back to the ACC, and we probably would end up taking maybe North Carolina State, Miami if they're still available, but I don't see them being there. Maybe a Virginia Tech if the Big Ten don't want them. And that would pretty much make the Big Ten and the SEC 24 teams each. At that point, I do feel bad for both the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC, because then you're going to have two dominant teams, and then you're going to have the leftovers. And unfortunately, you're still going to have some really good leftovers, but I think at that time, it's time that they break off and do their own playoffs. But that's just my way of looking at things and my way of thinking, just from what I've been hearing. The teams that have been with the SEC back when it was the Southern Conference, I think they will come back to the SEC. And of course, anytime the Big Ten offers a school that is proud of their academics, obviously you're going to end up going to the Big Ten. But I do think the 2014 leagues make the most sense. I do not believe this is going to happen, though, until 2029. I think you're going to see the Big Ten sign their contract here probably on the 15th of this month, I think, is when it'll be announced, and it'll be signed shortly after that. So that'll give the Big Ten how much money they're going to get, and that'll allow them to go back to Washington, Oregon, and say, look, this is the money we get now, this is what you add. And at that time, they might add them at a lower level, but I really think this is all going to break down to when the grant of rights is up in the ACC. Like I said, I do feel sorry for the Big 12. I like the Big 12. I'm an old guy. I remember back when Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri used to be good back then. Iowa State had a few teams with Earl Bruce. It was a fun little conference. And I think now that Texas and Oklahoma leaves and with who they bring, I think it's going to be a real competitive team or a league. You're not going to have that dominant team like Oklahoma every year. You pretty much think they're going to pound everybody. Well, when Texas and Oklahoma's gone, who's going to pound? You're going to have Baylor, who's good, Oklahoma State, who's good. Maybe Iowa State raises up and gets good again. Cincinnati could continue. UCF could continue. But I don't see that dominant team. As far as the Pac-12, before the Big Ten picks them off, that's going to be a fun little conference. I mean, you got Washington coming up. Oregon, they can get back to their dominance maybe. That'll be a fun little league. But unfortunately, I think we're just biding our time until we drop to two conferences, 24 teams, and then they'll probably end up doing their own playoffs. What I want you guys to do is leave me any questions. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me what you think. Maybe I put a school in the Big Ten that you think is better in the SEC, or maybe I pick somebody to go to the SEC that you like better in the Big Ten. Again, like the video so that way it gets passed around and more people can see this video. And also, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I'll do another video tomorrow, possibly two, and roll tide, everybody.